Hi everyone. After the long delays, waits, and times we've spent away, FM26 is finally here, and I thought I'd bring to you today my new save in Valencia. Once kings of Spain, feared across Europe, in 2003-2004, Valencia, under Rafa Benitez, achieved the impossible and won the Liga and the UEFA Cup in the same season. They're the last team to win the La Liga title outside of the big three: Real Madrid, Barcelona, and Atletico Madrid. Since then, it's been rather a downhill than an uphill trajectory for Valencia. So since then, they've not won a single trophy. 20 managers have been and gone, and we've seen some disastrous displays, such as Gary Neville in charge. In 2014, Peter Lim took over the club and promised to return them to being a competitive side, but instead has been accused of stripping the club's assets, selling key players, and leaving the club in over £500 million of debt, as shown on FM26. The new Mestalla project was brought in to knock down the old Mestalla Stadium and bring in a new 75,000-seater stadium to the city. However, the project began in 2007, was halted in 2009 due to financial issues, and has only just been given the go-ahead to continue the project in 2025, with a likelihood to be opening in 2027. Can FM Skip be the saviour and turn around Valencia's fortunes and bring them back to the titles of European and the Liga football? So the plans for the save. So our short-term plan is to stabilise the club in the Liga, reduce the wage bill down, and look to bring in young talent with resale value to get the club back on its feet. Once we've hopefully achieved those plans within the next 2 to 5 years, we want to get the club back into European football, continue to reduce the debt, and start to build up the youth academy more, so we can start to see players coming through and featuring for the first team. And then our long-term plan, 5 to 10 years, win back the La Liga title, try and win ourselves a European trophy, and remove all the debt from the club on the game. So we've put in some rules to start the save and try and bring the club back out of debt. As you can see from the pictures here, there's £537 million of remaining debt on the club, and they're currently spending over nearly £60,000 over the current wage total. So we need to get hold of both to try and reduce those debts and loans. The projection of the club doesn't look great. The turnover's dropping. The balance is okay. Our transfer balance is okay, but the debts and loans are piling up, and that's what we need to try and resolve. So we're going to go for a start and save rule. So these may change throughout the saves as hopefully the debt gets better and our wages and transfer budget potentially rises through player sales and trade-in. So we're going to start with a wage cap of 50k maximum weekly wage for players to try and reduce this wage bill down and try save some money into the club. We're not going to have any use of transfer installments because, as we know, this just defers debt into later seasons, and we actually want to try and get the club out of debt. So we can only spend transfer budget we have available. And what I've done for that also is to try and spend only 75% of the budget. So say we had a £10 million transfer budget, we'd only be looking to spend £7.5 million before any sales to try and, again, keep the club afloat and try and reduce the debts and loans. And then we must sell any players for profit if a bid is received. So if a bid comes in for a player that we've bought more, even if we think we can get more in the short term, we need to be making money. We need to be turning the squad over and trying to reduce the money, the debt, the wage bill, and bring in some transfer budget that we should be spending on younger players to bring back some profit, and as a short-term plan, bring them through and sell them for more value to try and get the club out of debt whilst also trying to move up the stadium. So let's head into FM26 now and see how we can get on. First day at Valencia. We can see they've got 6 Liga wins in their history, so let's get forward and change that and add some more. They've currently given us a transfer budget of £10.5 million, so I think from 75% you're looking at probably around £7 million for us to spend. But we're currently over our wage budget by 56,000, so we're going to have to reduce that one down as mentioned. So if we have a quick look at the squad, and we go sort by wages. So yeah, we've got a few decisions to make here on the wages. So with our imposed wage budget we're putting in place, we've got currently 4 players over that. But Jose Gayà, being the captain, I'm pretty sure is probably one of our best players at the club. So this is going to be the tough decisions we're going to have to make early on. Is do we want to keep our captain and players on our more money, or are we needing to focus more on the finances early doors and then try and build later on? I could see straight away, so even looking at this, I can see we've got a goalkeeper on 40k, but we've also got another one here on 41,000 who's on loan, so maybe we look to move on Dmitrievsky. There's a big transfer value here on Julian. Let's have a quick look here. So his contract. Okay, so here's a good one potentially for us for our future sales. So yes, he's currently on 41k a week on his loan, but we've got an optional fee here of 9.5 million. So if we can find a way, if he has a good season, to potentially turn that into a permanent transfer, looking at his current squad value, there's a big profit to potentially be made here straight away. So yeah, we've got, so we set up by ability. So yeah, we've got some good players here to have a look at. Some of our better players, obviously Diakabi and Gayà, all with it over our transfer budget. Maybe we can look to do something here with the loan we've got, and then Hugo Duro for 69k. So this looks like even though he's a 3-star player, maybe we look to move him on straight away and reduce that loan fee. So yeah, as if we take another quick check of the finances, as initially mentioned, yeah, so the current debt on the club is £537 million. So looking at this, we can clear the remaining debt here for the chairperson loan of 10.8, but the big ones are down here. The bank loan repayment, I presume this is for the stadium, 2053. So can we try and reduce this and get this paid off quicker, because we don't want to be paying £3 million a month out every single month to repay debt. Let's try and get that cleared as much as we can, especially with transfer debt on top of it as well. So this is why we're not going to look to use installments, because that would just make our transfer debt worse. We want to try and just focus on using the budget we have available to us and building the squad that way. And then maybe in future periods down the line, when we clear some of the debt, maybe we can look to use installments if it's going to make sense to the club longer term with some resale value and that. But for the time being, no transfer installments on transfers. So yeah, we'll have a quick look through the squad, maybe, and then episode 2 we'll come back at the end of the transfer window, have a review of what we've been able to do so far, whether we can do anything currently without our wage budget and our transfer budget, and see what change we can make. And then I believe we'd have played a few games of the season, so we can review the start of the season and our setup. So hopefully see you guys back here for episode 2.